My name is Imaswen Amowie Izodowa. I'm one of the founding member of Association of Great Benin Descendant, or shortly we call it Great Benin Descendant. The ideology of Great Benin Descendant was born the very moment I had come to the Institute for Benin Studies to do practically some research about writing a book that has to concern the leadership of Benin Kingdom. So I was actually looking for a place to read. So on that very fateful day when I came here, I started to use this place rather. Then I stumbled into a kind of a letter that was written from the Akure people to the Institute to help them find an historical connection between them and the Benin people, in which they know, rightly being told by their ancestors or their fathers, that they are Benin people. So I became very curious. So I asked the Mr. Aiko Bobaifo, who happens to be the director of Institute for Benin Studies, that actually Akure people actually Benin. He said yes. So that aroused my curiosity, trying to get all the ethnic nationalities that migrated from Benin a long time ago. So in course of all that, I was able to now start to share my idea with some other persons who knows more of the Benin history than I was about a year ago. Then from there, that's how the idea came that there is a need for all the ancestry, anybody who has this ancestral connection to Benin, to all be once again united as a people. So I think certainly that was how what eventually metamorphosed to become Great Benin Descendant. That's how it was born. Well, there is no much of a difference though. When we had our first meeting at about the first or second week of June 2017, we had a resolution that the name of the group will be called Great Benin Kingdom's Movement. But after that meeting, I had other series of consultations with some other of our people, some of our learned professors and dads and father. They were able to furtherly explain that because of the fact that people are a bit very skeptical with the word modern day monarchy, so it is wise to make do without the kingdom. So that's how we became Great Benin Movement. But however, we understood the one singular factor, that for a group to be able to represent the interest of the people that they so wish to represent, they must first and foremost make it a legal registered institution or a body, whether as an association, organization, or some other body or groups. So we decided to put it forth for registration on the Corporate Affairs Commission. And that's how we're told that the word movement looks more political, that if we wish to add movement, maybe we should go and register it through INEC and then not Corporate Affairs Commission. So we decided not to brainstorm further. So a series of names were suggested as to the replacing of the word movement in the group, and then that's how Decendants came in. So legally we are called Association of Great Benin Descendant, but we decide to, the abridged version is just Great Benin Descendant. So there is no difference between Great Benin Descendant and Great Benin Movement other than being on a legal ground which disqualifies the word movement and qualifies the word descendant. So Great Benin Movement metamorphosed to Great Benin Descendant on legal ground. Well, like I earlier said, the moment you realize that your ancestors had a connection with Benin, Great Benin, you qualify. For example, In the ancient Benin Empire, Benin, the people you now call the Edo South people, were not the only people who inhabited the Great Benin Empire. So we had Esan people, we had Afema, broken down into three, Etsako, Owan, and Akoko Edo. They were all part and parcel of the making of Great Benin, and they were also Great Benin descendants. We have a majority of the Ika-speaking people of present Delta State. We have the Isoko people. We have the Urhobo people. We have the noble houses and the royal houses of Itsekiri. We have the Ogbia in Bayelsa. We have the Degema people in Bayelsa. We have the Ogba people in River State. We have Ekpeye. We have Iwurhuohna, nicknamed as Ekpeye. We have Igede people in Benue State. Then a majority of, we have some very good noble and royal houses in Lagos State. We still have a majority of our families that were not allowed to return back after the British expedition in Ondo. We call them Edunekwe, the Benins in Ondo State. Then we have the Ado Ekiti people who are Benin. We have the Onitsha Idu, who also traces their ancestry to Benin. We have some persons that trace their ancestry from Benin Republic to Togo, and we have Asian Ga people that trace their origin as well to Benin. So these are spectrums of the people who qualifies to be a member of Great Benin Descendants, because their ancestry, one way or the other, are all connected to Benin. Either way, we call ourselves Edo children, because Edo, it's well documented in our Benin history that it is the progenitor of the Benin race. So all Igodomingolo descendant, as the name of the land was formerly known as. And so that we are Edo children, we are Great Benin descendants, we are Igodomingolo descendants. All falls within the purview of exactly what we are trying to do, uniting all these people together for us to continually, social, culturally interact amongst ourselves as one equal people. So when you fall within this category of being convinced within yourself and understanding that your ancestry lies in Benin, so you qualify to be a member of Great Benin Descendant wherever you are in the world. We have had tremendous growth, and in the last 10 months or so, that we became known as a group that has constantly been fellowship on doing meeting, and we've in terms of growth, we've expanded so exponentially, expanded to diaspora in terms of Europe, whether in America or anywhere part of the world. And within Nigeria, we have our respective chapters in Lagos State. We have a chapter in Delta State. We have a chapter in River State. And of course, the headquarters is based in Benin, Edo State. And we have made some quite an academic articles that has challenged, that has inspired all these Great Benin descendants all over the world. On July 22nd, 2017, we published an article called 80 Facts About Great Benin. Although that article since have been upgraded to 100 Facts About Great Benin. And we can authoritatively, comfortably say that that is the article that probably brought this Beninness of us to us, because the article spread across the entire world. Although it's been splitted, you see it as 30 Fathom about Great Benin, but the original article was written by Imasuen Amogwe Zodowa in conjunction with Great Benin Descendants, and it has inspired a lot of persons. And as well as we've been able to meet with key kings across different ethnic nationality that traces their roots to Benin, and we've been able to also lecture or tutor our young growing children to understand the history of their people, and we've made policies that articulate the tourist places in conjunction with the state government. Like we also use this that avenue to correct a lot of fallacies, historical fallacies, propagated all through the years by our respective neighbors. For example, we've been able to, through our academic team, of the academic arm of Great Benin Descendant, we've been able to put to the public view that the first story building in Nigeria was sited in Benin Kingdom at Urhobo precisely, built 1718, as the fallacy of it being built at Badagry in Lagos. So we've since gone to the place at which that story building was built at Urhobo, and we've been able to map it out, and we are hoping that we can be able to shine more governmental presence to that place. And we've been able to correct other fallacies, like the oldest church in Nigeria. Some people used to believe that it was sited at Akure in Epie-Atise, but we've been able to prove that the churches were already being built about 300 to 350 years before any church was ever built in Yoruba land. I've been able to also correct issues about the first educated people in Nigeria. We've been able to prove that the Benins were the first educated people in Nigeria through this Great Benin Descendant. On the 22nd of July, we were able to celebrate the restoration of the Benin monarch, which was restored on 2nd of July 1914 through Ogba II. So we reenacted that date, and as I speak right now, we are already in consultation, in talk with the Benin monarch as regards how we can choose a future date, which I'll more or less discuss much later during this interview. So we've made some tremendous growth as regards what we've done thus far. So thank you. One of the core values of GBD is that we totally abhor anything that has to do with politics, because we understand the dynamism and sensitivity of politics as a whole. Generally, when I mean politics, I'm talking about partisan politics. And so one of the core value of GBM is that GBD rather, that we totally abhor anything that has to do with politics, partisan politics. And the second core value, it's from religious perspective. We understand that because of the people, we're trying to bring everybody together. There shouldn't be any exuberance as to religious divides. So we completely abhor any religious discussion. When I mean religious discussion, I also embraces or covers our African traditional beliefs as well. So we don't criticize Christianity, we don't discuss Christianity, we don't criticize Islam, we don't talk about Islam, we don't talk about other religions of the world, whether it's Buddhism, Hinduism, all types of religions across the world. Even Godaism, the one being practiced in Africa, we don't talk about it as well. We don't talk about Oloko, Ogun, Ayelala, we don't criticize it as well. So that's because we understand the sensitivity that comes with it. And the third core value is that we understand sometimes it's difficult for people to control their taste for their ideology to be stamped upon the ideology of a group. So that is why the third core value of GBD is that no singular ideology of a person can usurp the ideology of GBD in total. So we talk more of how far we can be able to move GBD forward with the aims and objective that was already galvanized or created for GBD as a group. So these are the three main core values of GBD. Well, as I speak right now, we have made a lot of plans for GBD. First of which is we are in talk with the monarch, like at LSF, for we want to have a day that we can call Benin Day. And when I use the word Benin, I inherently am referring to all Benin descendants, because we are Great Benin descendants. A day that will be called Benin Day, a day that every of our sons and daughters all over the world will need to come back to Edo State to be able to celebrate that day. We have gone to the very advanced stage of it. We have spoken with the head of the Uzama as regards this ideology. We have spoken with the head of Igede, that's the Ear of Benin Kingdom, and they are well in support of this ideology. And the only thing that we need to fine tune is that we're asked to do an opinion poll to our brothers in diaspora to be able to tell us which month of the year, whether July or December, would be most convenient for them, which we are trying to do now. Maybe in the next 1 or 2 weeks, so the opinion poll would have been open for people to choose when most would be convenient. And these are some of the things that will be compiled and be sent to Omonoba himself for approval of a day that will now be known as the Benin Day, Great Benin Day, all over the world. Then we're currently working hand in hand in ensuring that working with some of the House of Assembly members to ensure that a bill to make Edo language compulsory in Edo State is achieved. That we already have gone to an advanced stage in trying to convince the Speaker of the House and other notable members of House of Assembly so that Edo language can be made compulsory language in Edo State. So we're also on that, and it's part of our future plans. And we have also sent for letters to some of the TV stations in Edo State to be able to create a plan, a section every week for that Benin history will be taught. Instead of just Good Morning on ITV and all that, a section should also be created where experts could be invited every week to talk about Benin history. We've sent letters to some of these TV stations and even radio stations. And so for the modalities that is required for them to give us a section every week for which to discuss Benin history, discuss Esan history, discuss Akure history, discuss all this great Benin descendant history and our common ties and how we are all interconnected and related. So, and this is some of the things that we are having as our future plans, and we are also wanting to also create an economic arm for GBD such that it could also use not just people coming together and interact. How can this also benefit people in terms of raising their welfare, the standard of their welfare and all that? We're also looking into creating a hub, or we're also inviting people to also have an idea to collaborate with us so that we can also have an idea where we can also improve the lives of our people, as not just a group that only just discuss about history or our socio-cultural connection amongst all these great Benin descendants. These are some of the things we are looking at in the next 1 or 2 years. And lastly, we have been able to convince a lot of first-class kings across South, and Southwest, and our intentions have been made known to them. In the next few weeks, we will be having constant meeting with some of these high reputable kings, which I wish not to mention for now, and so that we can be able to tell them the aims and objective of GBD and how their kingdom was part of the making of the Great Benin Empire, and how we can also come together as one the way we were in the ancient times before the pre-colonial era. So these are some of the things we have looked forth, and I hope that in the next few weeks people will begin to see some of our moves in terms of meeting with these high respected royal majesties across the country. Somehow, some time ago, we've been able to sample some people's opinion of how we think Great Benin Descendant can work. And some of the fears that people have had was the same fear that they had in the 50s and the 40s. Some people are afraid of this new colonialism from the Benin. The Benins are not going to colonize anybody, because under Great Benin Descendant, we see ourselves as equal. The Edo State man that is now referred to presently as Benin does not see himself superior to an Esan man under Great Benin Descendant, and he doesn't see himself as superior to any Akure person. We see ourselves as brothers, and we are brothers and sisters. So no ethnic nationality on Great Benin Descendant is superior to the other. We see ourselves as equal, and as such, we, at the very might of our empire, when it was largely dominated by the Benin people, we didn't enforce our language on people. That is why we have this ancient parable translated in different songs. Ginozeka, Gazeka, Ginozudo, Gazudo, Amazewoma, in other words, if you are an Ika person, continue to speak your Ika. If you are an Udo person, continue to speak your Udo. If you don't speak your language, you're like someone who's no longer existing. So we have understood that close to 1,000 years ago, and that is why even as we have expanded to almost every nooks and cranny of the present day southern part of Nigeria, we never took people's languages from them. We retained their language, was allowed to retain, and nobody was forcefully harnessed. Is it now in the modern times that people think that Great Benin Descendant wants to harness their territory, or harness their language, or harness their right? We didn't do it when we had when we were able to do it. But is it now we want to do it when we can no longer do it? So it is far-fetched. It is all about our ancestral connections. I remember during the movement for the Midwest referendum, Dennis Osadebe had a fear that if the Ika people are to join the Anioma people, are to join the Benin people for the struggle of the Midwest referendum, they are going to harness them and return back to the way it was before the British invasion, when we were independent. But surprisingly, when the referendum was when the Midwest region was finally created, August 9, 1963, we discovered that the governor of the region and the prime minister of the region were not Benin people. Mariri was not a Benin person, was an Urhobo man, and then we have Osadebe, who came from the Ika clan, as a prime minister. So at one point in time, the first man to represent the Benin people at the Old Western House of Assembly was an Ukwuani man called Ekpeye. So it means that as a people, we are a very detribalized people, and that is why we are who we are today, and we are not going to change. Sometimes we usually quarrel, why was our language not enforced on our conquered territory? Well, the ancestors, the wisdom they had was quite unique, and sometimes we feel uncomfortable with their wisdom. But however, we've realized that tribalism has caused so much division amongst people, and they were very detribalized at that time. And the fulcrum of Great Benin Descendants is that we are also very detribalized as a people. We are not here to colonize anybody, because on the platform of GBD we consider everybody as the same and equal. So there's no neo-colonialism. We are not trying to take people's rights and subject them to the authority of the Ogba of Benin, who has his jurisdiction. Itsekiri has his jurisdiction. Ogbia of Onitsha has his jurisdiction. But all these people, they are all Benin. It's not going to change. So no one is going to take one's authority and subject other person's authority under another person's authority. However, but we believe that we are all Benins, and there's a need for we to start to take practical steps to come together as one people, not to be subjected under the rulership of one ethnic nationality as to against other ethnic nationality. So that's it.